Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning and good every moment. Thank you very much. We are now resuming our weekly teaching session on the seven Vajra points, the quintessence teaching of the Mahayana Uttaratantra Shastra by Asanga. So, as usual, please take a couple of moments to cultivate your heartfelt motivation in not only listening but trying to understand, but not only trying to understand but try to apply them and in an everyday use to remember that everybody has Buddha nature and goodness, and we should not be distracted by kind of a temporal obscurations and karma habits of others, because everyone has. They are not alone. But often we forget that we don't have them, you know, as if others are the problem, and then we even forget our bodhicitta and Buddha nature, and then react. So easy to lose that sense of our awareness, of our wisdom, or not realizing everything is, but not really truly existing. So Buddha nature empowers us to penetrate through the veil of obscurations. So this particular text is so important text in Mahayana Buddhist community. So I'm glad we are doing this. Thank you for your continuous attention and commitment. Let's renew our refuge and bodhicitta as usual with these prayers by joining our hands at the heart and think of all the people in the world who are very much very exposed to terrible insecurity, danger, and suffering and pain. And at least we, in our good situations, can not feel isolated and not feel unconnected with them, but do this also for their sake, for their benefit, in whatever range of time the benefit will touch them. So with this in mind, we'll do the prayers for the happiness of all living beings, for the resolution of all the conflicts which are not cause of happiness at all. It's only cause of suffering. And only if they come to know that, they will pull back one day. Just that right circumstances need to be created. So with this we'll do the refuge and for immeasurables. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Adere Pede Lademe Vajra Ajevendala Ajare Vada and Abu Dada Mahazanga Adere Ladama Bhavaja Ajevendala Ajare Vada and Abu Dada Mahazanga Adere Vidyaladam Bhavaja Ajivandala Ajare Vada May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, though never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, though never. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those never. happiness, and the cause of happiness, may they be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, may they never part from the happiness that no suffering, may they dwell equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far, according to the intelligence and predisposition of every other yajanda dharma, agrelo and common goals. So welcome back to our 8th lesson of this study on the 7 Vajra points. 7 Vajra points are the quintessence topic of Asanga's Mahayana Uttaratantra Shastra. It is one of his 5 seminal works known as 5 Signs of Maitreya. He has attributed his works to Maitreya, Buddha. I mean, it's not a bad idea that he can supersede the future Buddha and make his authorship and associate with himself as a co-author. We can't go wrong with that. But I would like to give full credit to his 12 years of grueling meditation retreat, and which made him to really dig deep to realize these hidden treasures of the teachings of the Buddha nature. As you know, this has 4 chapters, and we are currently dealing with the 5 chapters, currently doing with the first chapter, in which it covers the first 4 Vajra points. First 3 Vajra points are Vajra points Buddha, Vajra points 2 Dharma, Vajra points Sangha. So those 3 are the result. Those 3 are the result of practice, because Buddhahood is the actual quality of enlightened one, and so therefore the Buddha Vajra point of the Buddha Vajra point, which we all also try to attain. That's the result. But you attain Buddha only by having Dharma, the second Vajra point. So you have to practice Dharma, but you don't attain Dharma without Sangha. So therefore, only by receiving through authentic living tradition of the Sangha, then these three Vajra, then we receive Dharma. And through this, even if you have refuge in the Triple Gem, not all of the Buddhist tradition teach the Buddha nature. So in Mahayana teaching, Buddha nature is the first topic, really, like Sakya Pandita's clarifying the sage's intent and Gampopa's jewel ornament of liberation. These texts clearly have put the first chapter as a Buddha nature, the very positive. Everybody has intrinsic quality, the goodness, the basic goodness, or Tathagata Garbha. So therefore, this topic we are going through is the 4th Vajra point. And this 4th Vajra point were firstly taught by saying there are 10 characteristics of what the Vajra points are, the cause of it, and the result of it, and possession of it, various phases of the Vajra points, and so on. So we covered those already. And then now it's explaining how the Buddha nature is taught through the 9 similes. 9 similes. And we have gone through all of the 9 similes, firstly briefly, then in detailed explanation of all the 9 similes. So tonight we're going to begin with the summary of that part, and which is captured in verse number 127 and 28. I believe you all received the handouts. Thank you, Kat. So all of you got your things before you. So it goes to summarize, because these 2 verses are summary of what has covered in the last 2 sessions we went through. Even inside the lotus, which refers to the word, even in the lotus, inside the lotus means even inside the moldy lotus that you nearly rejected, nearly rejected. Or even with the swarming bees that might sting you, even those very sort of rough husk of the grains, or the filth, or the earth, or the fruit peel, or the tattered clothes, or a woman's womb, and the clay mold. These are the 9 similes of the obscurations. Yeah, they are the Buddha inside the moldy lotus, the honey inside the honey under the bees, and grain inside the husk, the gold under the filth, mine under the earth, fruit, the tree, the actual tree and fruit under the fruit peel, a precious statue under the tattered rags, and the universal monarch in the pregnant woman's womb, and the golden image inside the clay mold. So what does these 2 verses talk about? It gives us a list of the similes of the obscurations and similes of the obscured, those that are hidden by the obscurations. So now it goes to elaborate even furthermore the reason why we went through the similes is so as to illustrate the meaning of each of the 9. So they may, while they have similarity, they have very great distinction of each of the obscurations and each of the obscured, because obscurations are the different kind of karmic predicaments of individual levels, and the obscured are the hidden qualities. Each of the practitioner, as they progress along the path, they differ from beginners to the advanced. So therefore, verse number 129 goes to say, similarly refers to, just as this obscured and obscurations has been revealed analogously, the shell of afflictions. The shell of affliction means the shell is that which covers. A shell of afflictions covering the nature of sentient beings. So what is the nature of sentient beings is the Buddha nature. But if the shell of afflictions, some are very angry, someone is aggressive, someone is addicted to alcohol or drug or things or possessions or positions or their aggressions, whatever the afflictions showing inside the shell of afflictions, the real nature of sentient beings, which is beginningless. So the Buddha nature is beginningless, So it is uncompounded. It is immutable and therefore beginningless, and the immaculate nature of the mind, which has no relationship to this, is beginningless. So therefore, shell of the ignorance, shell of afflictions, has actually no connection. They are not connected whatsoever. It's only so. Therefore, the mind, nature of the mind, and the Buddha nature, which is immaculate, is not going to be relation. It has no relationship. Doesn't means it does not get taintable. It's not taintable by these shells, because because it is beginningless. So this is talking about the obscurations and obscured and their distinctive nature. So and then it goes to explain how each of those obscurations, the 9 similes we went through, what are the 9 afflictions distinct from each other. So 9 afflictions: desire, hatred, ignorance. Can you see the difference of the sequence in which these are arranged? The desire is the grossest one. And there are no time the desire is not operative. Desire is not only operative, desire is very intense, desire, because we live in desire realm, we live in desire realm. So desire is rampant. And then second is hatred. The hatred is the little bit subtler and less frequent, But once it is cultivated, it could stay very long hidden, So whereas desire is pretty continuously, it just question is, desire could change from object to object, but hatred could be really deeply seated and it doesn't quite change, so it could go stronger. And ignorance, the ignorance. So desire is the active form of it and very constant. Hatred is is less apparent, but when it comes, it is very, very ferocious. And ignorance is that which underlying cause of both of these two rather. So these three are the three and represent those first three analogies. Yeah, three analogies: the lotus, bee, and husk. Yeah, and then their ferocious active state. There refers to these three root poisons. These three are the root poisons. Their ferocious active state means these defilements are always active. It's hardly inactive. It's probably active even now. You just is it going to make some sense tonight? I really want to have some sensible teachings. I'm not going to sit another hour like this anymore. Sorry about that. And so desire is quite active. Understandably, you're allowed to have that desire, and I have this desire. Hopefully I can make some sense. Try to impress them. So I do have this strong desire. So very, very active. So it all comes on at 7:45. Before that, I was doing half meditation, and I was just scheming and planning how to activate my desire to represent the teaching, and when I don't make sense to myself, I'm really agitated. Do you see that? Do you notice that? Maybe you don't, because anyway. So very active. It's a ferocious active state, and ignorance is, of course, is so reliable. Ignorance will never give you freedom. Ignorance you pack up everywhere where you go. Ignorance is underlying causes of all. So the ferocious active state. This is the fourth one. Okay, this is the fourth one. Fourth one, it's like an attachment. So fourth one is a subtle one, subtler than the first three, and then their latencies. Their latencies is the fifth one. The latency means pakcha. It's propensities. It's just habituation. So most of the things that we do is very much habituated. So that's latency is the fifth one, and the afflictions. So up to the number 5. Number 5 is number 4 is all sentient beings, all ordinary sentient beings, you and I included. Until we all reach arhathood, everybody share this first 4 state of afflictions. 3 root afflictions, plus the desire, plus the attachment, and then the fifth one is of course we are not aware of our own latency of ignorance. And after the fifth one, when you practice to reach some degree of arhathood, so then it's going to talk about the afflictions abandoned on the impure path of seeing and path of meditation. So that's referred to the sixth and seventh simile. And the afflictions, and the afflictions of pure levels respectively.
So that is the 8th and ninth level. So these 9 analogies that we went through of the afflictions, starting with the lotus all the way to the clear mold, all of these directly correspond to the different gross to subtle level of afflictions of very ordinary childish sentient beings, to all the way to the bodhisattvas dwelling on the 10th bhumi. So therefore, that's what I mentioned last week, that these 9 similes should not be seen as a random and just using random analogies, things like that. No, each of these are very distinctive flavor to the understanding. And so these afflictions, from the gross desire to subtle afflictions to the pure 8th and 9th and 10th bodhisattva levels, respectively, are all perfectly illustrated. Yeah, each of them. So that's, I've got the chart below here, are perfectly illustrated by the 9 similes as the covering of the lotus and so on. So you have the 9 similes in the second column, 9 similes, illustrated by 9 similes as covering lotus, and the shell of secondary affliction can be classified into infinite categories. So, of course, when Buddhists talk about 84,000 afflictions, that's what it's talking about. Shell of secondary affliction can be classified into 9 infinite categories. But here, all of that infinite categories of affliction has been subdivided into these 9 levels. So therefore, it says in 32, these 9 similes, such as the shroud of lotus, have illustrated briefly and respectively the 9 affliction in a perfect manner. So therefore, the 9 similes, or starting with the moldy, the mud here, and so on, all of these are illustrating not only each of them, but respectively in a very perfect manner for those who understand the gross and subtle difference between the afflictions. You can't hide desire. The desirous afflictions and desirous afflictions and desirous actions are very manifest. You cannot hide it. In this particular time, in this world of desire, they promote things. They blatantly promote things to make people wanting to buy your things. So, and you even hire those guys who promote your things. So what they call SEO, isn't it, in computer language? Search engineer optimizer. Search engineer optimizer is you try to optimize your product to be seen before everybody else. You have to be at least in the first 10 that when you press the button. Otherwise, your product will not be visibly desirable. So we are constantly practicing the first of those 9 afflictions. So these 9 similes are respectively correspond to these afflictions in a perfect manner. So with these 9 afflictions, so then we look at the chart closely. The childish. So now you can see the childish, the practitioners on the right column. You can see the childish, the arhats, the bodhisattvas on the path, and the wise are obscured by 4, 1, 3, 2, and 2 respectively. So this is talking about the different levels of the afflictions. It doesn't mean that the childish being has only the first 4 and doesn't have the rest. Childish being have all the 184,000, but the first 4 are most manifest and rampant. They are rampant. But when you move from the childish to the arhats, for instance, you don't have active desire, you don't have active hatred, you don't have active ignorance, nor you have active attachment. You only have latency of the subtle ignorance. So those are the arhats. So the arhats are the ones who have overcome the afflictions, the gross afflictions, but they have not yet overcome the subtle afflictions, particularly the latencies. But they have not overcome the feeling of I want to attain nirvana. They still have that kind of subtle latency of it, self-importance. So and so that's when it says with these 9 afflictions, the childish are obscured by 4. Obscured by 4 doesn't mean that they're only obscured by 4 and not the rest. Obscured by 4 more manifestly. Okay? And then arhats are more manifestly obscured by their latencies of ignorance. Of course, they don't have the very, very active desire. Even if they don't have the active ones. They have taken liberty, taken vow, and they're observing the vows to exercise restraint, and so therefore they have minimized their desire. So they're content with 1 meal a day, and they don't touch money. Hopefully the food drops in the mouth. As they know the food doesn't cost money. Food just drops from the trees, maybe. They can't touch money. But they can touch food. It's quite a minimum, Look, I can touch food, but not money. Can you see the bargain there? So they accept anything that falls in the bowl, but they themselves will not go out and get it. So that shows how individuals are restraining their desire, or even they have some little bit of anger. They see this is against Dharma, this is against my vows, this will not please the Buddhas, this will upset my friend. They remember all of these things, and they're able to control it, and almost the activeness of the defilements are all controllable by their discipline, their vows, their precepts, their meditation, and their freedom from the society or community or interaction, or because they don't have to sell nothing, they hardly have to buy anything because they all get given. So they are really, really relatively quite safe, safe from having any kind of gross affliction. So you can see how arhats succeed to minimize their needs and don't listen to the greed. And therefore, but they only have to maintain, control their latencies of the ignorance. And so that's up to the fifth one is arhat, and then the arhat, the bodhisattvas on the path are obscured by 2. So it means bodhisattvas on the path is necessarily those who have reached path of accumulation, a path of preparation. So they have excelled from the ordinary childish beings, and they are already on the path of accumulation and the path of preparation. So it's just like being able to really peel those fruit of your afflictions, and a bit teary sometimes. You have to. So you're abandoning all the clinging to the form. So you're able to peel off and therefore reveal the fruit. And because you have to have a lot of merit, path of accumulation, a lot of merit, path of preparation is merit, and you are able to then have no clinging to the insight of I, the grasping to self. So they don't have grasping to self very much, because they have abandoned the obscuration to insight meditation. That's why I call insight abandonment. They don't abandon the insight, but insight meditation abandons the self, that there is no self. So you only realize selflessness when you reach the insight meditation. Insight meditation is the result of path accumulation, of path preparation. And this therefore make you to go into the this two, one more. There are two. The second one is the meditative abandonment. Then the meditation has the obscuration of meditation itself. That is the attachment to the flavor of samadhi and jhanas. You know, there's a lot of jhanas with meditative absorptions, and quite a lot of them become so attached to that. And they don't need food, they don't need company, they don't look for interaction with people, they also have no wanting and needing for them. They could totally stay in the caves, in the mountains, without needing any. Why? Because they're very much relishing the flavor of samadhi. And they don't know it's a dirty cloth. They don't know that it's the dirty cloth under which the image is covered. They think the dirty cloth is the thing, you know. So their meditation gives them the false sense of accomplishment. Lot of people go into the jhanic state of meditation, and they don't know how to abandon their attachment to the jhanas. So that's why meditative abandonment is the only when you reach the second level of the bodhisattvas on the path. Yeah, bodhisattvas on the path. So path of seeing. This is talking path of seeing. And the path of seeing has its own, you know, quite some subdivision within the path of seeing. Yeah. So because if you really achieve the path of seeing by having abandoned the attachment to the flavor of meditation, then you don't have to be always in caves. You could be picking fruit at through the fruit market happily, but still in the meditative state. So you don't have to be always in the cave doing the meditation. But there are some who just don't want to do anything but meditation. Why? They haven't abandoned the attachment to the meditation. You know, they thought they do meditation so much so that they get rid of grasping the ego, but they attach to meditation that gave them freedom from the ego. So that they may be free from grasping to the I, but they still are attached to the phenomena of meditation. So the flavor of meditation becomes the obscurer, and you can't detour it, skip it. You have to go through that state, get really proper instruction, so that one doesn't fall into the ditch of meditative flavor. And quite a lot of them stay in that state for eons, and they don't want to get out. So there's the danger of these jhanas in which one become attached to. So those who develop detachment from the meditative absorptions, and that's when you abandon all the list of subtle afflictions. In the Abhidharma, it lists a number of the list of the names of all the afflictions. When you go through each of these levels, yeah. So the analogy is the dirty cloth covering the Buddha image, and it's the obscuration path of seeing. What we have is after that you now go to path of meditation. Path of meditation that is devoid of clinging and craving to the flavor of meditation. And so, therefore, it says that the wise are obscured by two. The wise are obscured by two refers to wise are now bodhisattvas, who are on the first bhumi, onwards up to the seventh is the first level, and then the eighth, ninth, and 10th is the second level. So the seven bhumi has their own obscurations. Each of the bhumis have their own qualities and their own hurdles. So if you overcome the hurdle of the first bhumi, then you reach second bhumi. So the obscuration of the first bhumi is relinquished, and quality of second bhumi become manifest. And so it's like a tedious wait, like an expectant mother. She's having labor pain. She has morning sickness. She can't sit this way comfortable, that way comfortable. It's very difficult, It's very difficult, She just some mothers actually have what they call prenatal depression. prenatal, prenatal depression. Yeah, of course. Who she doesn't know her son is going to become king. She thinks her son is a burden. I wish I never married that guy. I never knew becoming a mother is this hard. And so the meditator got a lot of hesitations, and hindered by the various faults. And if you stare, because the remedy is the ruler. Remedy is the ruler, becoming a king. So you have to be very well studied, very well heard and studied, to be not intimidated by the obscuration of the first bhumi, and then you reach the second bhumi. The second bhumi obscuration even more subtle and harder, and so become stiffer and difficult. So you should actually overcome that. You have to rule and govern that obscuration. First month pregnancy is quite different from the second month, isn't it? I'm not talking about a mother who's experienced here in this body, at least. I'm sure when you can see your sister getting pregnant, and after 4 months you can see that she can barely move. After 50, and then it's really difficult. So you can see that the graduated form of the practitioner needs to be stronger and stronger and stronger. So like that, there are that many kind of obscuration, the afflictions. So the afflictions and the subtle afflictions of the bodhisattvas reaching those bhumis. These are all path of meditation. These are all on path of meditation, the 7 lower bhumis. And then the 8th and 9th and 10th bhumi are 3 pure bhumis. 3 bhumis, 3 bhumi obscuration, mean 3 pure bhumis. Thus, the 8th and 9th and the 10th bhumis are 3 higher bhumis. Higher bhumi is a Sanskrit word which means stages or grounds. And so the qualities of an expectant mother about towards the last part of her, maybe 7th, 8th, and 9th month. That's some of them. Some of them are very, very big. Very, very big. The rest of the body is tiny, but the way the baby is so big, it's so disproportionate. It's in hell, because not just herself, but even some of the husband, when they look to the wife, they say, "What have I ever done to her body?" You had this young slim wife, and now she's completely blown like that. You have no idea what's like to be on the 9th bhumi. 9th bhumi has of course, it's a non-relapsable position. After 8th, it's non-relapsable. So those of you who have read some of the clarifying the stages intent, it gives a really detailed distinction of each of the 10 stages. Yeah. So what we're talking about is that each of the higher the stages, more the subtler the obscurations. So these, with these 9 afflictions, so the childish, the arhats, the bodhisattvas on the path, and the wise. The wise is the 4th one. Wise is the 4th one. Are obscured by 4, 1, 2, and 2 respectively. So that's a really way of, this is the correct translation. But you would not know what the hell does this mean if you don't have the commentary. So you can't really tell what it is. Yeah. So this is mainly referring to. So the wrong turns, this commentary, that I've got this commentary gives the very clearly laid out. So it really makes me having to really prepare these things. You can't even translate, let alone explain, if you don't study the commentary. Okay, so the Asanga's writing is cryptically useless. If you don't have oral instructions and commentary, nobody can understand it. Now, Asanga himself wrote a commentary. Okay, so the Asanga himself wrote a commentary that goes with that. But the original commentaries gives you some of the most important hints. But later on, we are talking about, this is 4th century original text, And then there are not many Indian commentaries on these texts, unfortunately, but there are lots of Tibetan commentaries. And Rongton's commentary is highly held for its earliness and comprehensiveness. His commentary is not only this work, but he gave the commentary on all other 4 works of Asanga as well. So Rongton himself is, some people see that as second matriarch who came to Tibet. So that's why we are, I can sit here and not only read the translation, knowing what each of the word means, because the commentary can help. Otherwise, it's very cryptic. If you read this verse number 133, you wouldn't know what it's talking about. With these 9 afflictions, childish, arhat, bodhisattva, and so why is obscured by 3, 4, the fourth, 1, 2, 2 respectively. Oh, yeah. So that's why I am not teaching to you as I'm teaching what I know. I'm teaching to you while learning to read between these lines and commentaries and translating, and hopefully that I don't go off the track. Off the track. You have no idea how Tuesdays are very full on for me, because I have to not only translate but read this and then highlight, because in Tibetan commentaries the root text is interspersed into the commentary. So I have to basically highlight. I have to pick every word into the whole page, and then actually most of the words in the Tibetan root text are all there, and I have to highlight them because they're not written bold, So they don't have highlighters in the old Tibetan text. And those who prepare wooden xylograph, they don't make some prints big and some small. They don't do. They're all one uniform. So it's if you don't study, if you don't read it, you cannot understand these texts. So that's why it's very, very good to have many fellow students. fellow student, which makes me to study a little bit more diligently than I have learned to be. So okay, so that explained the it's talked. So what does the subtitle of this section we just went through, verse number 32 and 32 and 34, is the individual practitioners. How does these 9 similes of the obscuration and obscured relate to individual practitioners? So of course we as a practitioner, we as a big childish one, we are all childish, aren't we? So Asanga calls the childish beings. So unless you reach the arhathood, we are so childish, So Buddhists should be very tolerant. When somebody called you childish, you should think, oh, really, I'm deluded childish one. I'm not just childish, I'm deluded. I don't even know I'm childish. People think I'm professional. Make no mistake. Oh, I'm perfect. That's so dangerous. So Buddhists should know that Asanga blatantly calls all human beings childish. Childish beings. And we are under the sway of these 4 gross afflictions. It doesn't mean we have only 4. We are constantly, actively, ferociously consumed by these 4 gross afflictions, and the rest of the other subtle afflictions are supporting us. So they're incessant. It's like a river that's constantly flowing. Except when we are meditating, maybe we can keep some of the affliction at bay. Except when we are deeply sleeping, maybe some of the gross afflictions are not active. But otherwise, we are always childishly desirous, childishly angry, childishly ignorant, childishly jealous, childishly taking bias against each other. All of that, we are constantly there. So therefore, these 2 verses, verse number 122 and 33, is all about the 9 levels of individual practitioners. First 4 analogies relates to the childish beings. So it doesn't even distinguish between laymen and monastic. novice, all are childish. all are childish and profoundly deluded, and don't even know they are deluded. And therefore, and then when they are deluded, of course they wouldn't know their Buddha nature, and then they see their delusion reflecting on others, they think the others are deluded. They don't realize their own deludedness is reflecting onto others. They don't know they have the Buddha image or the beautiful honey, and they don't, because we have so much an affliction. We don't see the honey in someone's aggression or whatever the analogies are relating to. So now, from the verse number 134, it's going to explain a little bit further in deciphering the meaning, in the meaning of these. Okay, so verse number 134 is the explaining the meaning and the teachings to do with these 9 similes. The delight in seeing lotus. Yeah. Okay, so this is the analogy of the desire. Yeah, desire, how the desire operates. So the delight in seeing lotus growing in the mud will later perish. Yeah. At the very beginning, when we desire something, the thing that we desire is like a beautiful lotus growing. So, the flower that you bought 5 days ago from the woolies or from the florist are so beautiful. You're so proud. You're walking in the street, you're holding this high up like this, and you straight away put in a nice flower basket and put a water and make it very noticeable in the dinner table home. So that, of course, delight in seeing lotus grow in the mud will, but later perish. In 4 or 5 days' time, it will slowly be wilted, and and it will slowly the leaves, slowly the flowers, all wilted. Likewise, the happiness born from desire is similar to this. So, when people say pleasure, the pleasure they have are like a flower, like the analogy of the flower, wilted flower. When you see the flower, firstly, it looks very fresh. Likewise, someone or something or possession or position or whatever you want to do first looks so attractive, so appealing. And then you go and get it. It is just incredible. You think you're the most luckiest person. You're married to this gorgeous man or this wonderful woman, and it's really, it really looks true. We don't want to sort of destroy it too quickly. But soon that beautiful, gorgeous man drops the habits, does this, does that. All of a sudden, he become completely perish before you. You wouldn't believe that this is what that happened to him, and you think he's doing this to me. You don't realize that's the nature of the flower itself, And likewise, we are there because therefore we become misled by our desire. The thing what we have or what we have or what it is, we think is permanent. We think it's truly existing. And so therefore, the teaching of the Buddha nature is to say that that the lotus is growing from mud and sunlight and water, and the color is so beautiful, and it is so delightful. Whoever gives it, whoever gets it, so happy. But very soon, the very lotus itself becoming wilted, and then like that, first of all, the ordinary covering the obscuration makes you obscure, thinking it is going to be stay ever so beautiful. So they think it's a fault of the object when the thing changes. They don't realize that's the nature of the analogy of the wilted flower. So therefore we should, next time you remember these verses, if something doesn't turn out to be where it is, that's the nature of things. So you do not personalize it. You will not over-personalize it. You don't think the person did it to you. That's the nature of things. Because your own desire obscured you to think as it is not. So that's why it's obscuration. Because it obscured us thinking, it misled us, thinking it will never wilt. And also, when people don't say at the altar, they say where the happiness or poor you love, the person himself just not able to love anymore. He doesn't say, one day I will not be able to love you, but please accept me that time. He doesn't say that at the altar. He says, oh, he will be some kind of miraculous. He will be like anyone else. He will just break the record. And the other one also says the same. So deluded. So obscured. So obscured. And then they get disappointed. They think it's his fault. And then you think your life was ruined, unlike those other couple. Oh, he's so lucky. He's got such a wonderful wife or something. And he doesn't realize sooner or later everything is like that. And then they develop the hate, like the swarming bee. The bee will sting. So then all of those analogies you can see will start coming back. So we need to understand this, how things change. But what lies within the lotus flower, inside the lotus wilted flower, is still the Buddha image. Remember the first analogy, Buddha image is there. So the basic goodness of everyone is still there. But because we're desiring something what it is not, and therefore we are desiring undesirable. And we're desiring impermanent things as a permanent. So double demerit. So it gets worse. And then, of course, we have double disappointment. And so on. But when you know these teachings, it shows, yes, this delightful, beautiful thing at the beginning, it will later perish. It's not just the nature of the lotus, but also your status. Of course, your possessions, of your positions, of your friendship, of your health, of others, how nice treat you. That's first they treat you so nice. But all of a sudden they make a U-turn and they never warned you. And that's the nature of all things. So you should not over-personalize, why did he do that to you? It's the nature of existence. It's the nature of beautiful flower to wilt. Even the plastic flowers. When you remember it's plastic flower, you don't get the same delight. Even though it doesn't wilt like the normal flowers, but when you remember it's plastic flower, people say, oh, it's so beautiful flower. And you say, yeah, it is nice. The other one say, oh, it's plastic. Damn it. No, so it's plastic, that's right. So there isn't anything that's really like that. So when we need to universalize these things, these obscurations, yeah? So that's verse number 134. So that's an analogy of desire, how desire makes us to desire undesirable things. So people want to get the very thing that's undesirable, and they think it's going to be desirable. And it's not desirable to you, will not be desirable to others. Even if it is, it would be only for a little while. However long the lotus stay fresh and blooming, after that it will perish, it will wilt, and you even have to find a bin to put it, hide it away. You can't put it in the same flower vase, same flower vase. You don't go and put the wilted flower in the vase again. You have to hide the wilted flower into the bin. So we have to abandon those obscurations. We should not lump the obscuration and keep them, but the obscuration should be abandoned. When bees, now this is the second analogy, yeah? When the bees become irritated, they sting. That's right. So now this analogy is very important. Bees are sentient beings. And there is no time the bee is not buzzing. There's no time the bee is not flapping his wings, and he is always using his sting. His sting is always using, whether he go and collect the honey from the flower, or whether he comes to the honeycomb, or whether he comes on your nose or your arms. That's his nature, to sting. He doesn't do it out of hatred to you, because he has to agitatingly flap his wings to produce the honey. So he produces saliva. Basically, it's the saliva. Honey is the saliva of bees. It's not sputum of bee. Bee sputum. Yeah, sputum is delicious, but not when it stings. So likewise, when people become angry and hating, they don't realize when the people get hating, they hate somebody, their anger rises, they don't realize how much it will sting oneself and everyone else. But he thinks he's got hundreds of reasons to get angry and fix all the problems, benefit him and everyone else later. But he doesn't know he will sting everyone around in his future. It says here that likewise, similarly, when anger has arisen, it brings sufferings in the heart. It is not biting on the nose or the knees. It's biting your heart. Heart attack is called. Heart attack is anger attack. Heart doesn't attack heart. How could heart attack heart? It's the negative, destructive emotion, anger, bite us, stings us like no other. That's what Shantideva says. Shadantau dikpa me. He says, there is no greater sin than hate. So that's why people have to understand the anger that when we have. So the teaching from the bee analogy, and the kind of what it produces honey, producing the honey is of course honey is the compassion that we would practice. But people practice compassion, trying to practice compassion, and instead of producing the honey, they sting. They sting each other more than giving honey to each other. So it's not worth it. You get stung so many times, you thought it would be pleasant, you thought it would be beautiful. There was a just miserable drop of mucus one moment, and after that there was no only sting. After that, sting with sharp language, sting with violence, sting with aggression, sting with discouragement, belittling, putting down. You wouldn't believe how someone's venom of hate stings you more than the honeybee. So you may get stung by honeybee only if you go to get the honey, but people wanted to go for someone's attention or kindness or whatever, but actually you get stung most of the time. Why? Because the afflictions here is analogously is the bee. The bee, like sentient beings, are very irritable, and you get more stung by them. Likewise, our own anger stings us more than anybody else's anger. We think somebody's angry at you. You think that stings you more. No, someone's angry sort of voice or with speech or even physical violence can never do enough injury as much as your own ill will to them thereafter. So we get more stung by our ill will, our own anger, hurt our heart. The person's bad abusive language maybe hurt your eardrum. So you have such a bad eardrum. Your eardrum is very not well made. It's so vulnerable to bad words. Then you shouldn't keep any dictionary in the room because it might hear some bad words. You shouldn't keep any dictionary books with bad words because when you read it might make you go blind. Why? See, the only childish get hurt by other people's bad mouth, but wise knows his own hate hurt his heart, that no other person's aggression can harm your heart. Your own hate, your own anger causes more injury to your heart than millions of other people's aggression to you. This is very important to distinguish other people's anger or aggression is not your hate. It's their hate. If somebody is angrily yelling at you, it's stinging themselves and will cause much more heartache to them later on. So don't worry about what they're saying to you, but be concerned, oh, they're hurting their heart, so I will not retaliate. If I did that, it will double the trouble. It will escalate the mutual hurt. So therefore give honey to them. Therefore give honey to them by practicing tolerance, yeah? By tolerance. If there is no sin that of hatred, likes hatred, then there is no virtue, no greater honey than of patience. That's what it is. So you need to now draw the teaching, draw the teaching from that. It says you should not sting your heart. So what should you do? You should heal your heart. You should heal your heart with compassion to the other person, even if they appear to sting you. They can only sting your skin and your weak eardrum, remember? Not you have a barricade going into your heart. They cannot sting your heart. Your heart can only be injured by your own ill will, enmity, so not by their aggression. So this is why Shantideva says, he says, even if my enemy, he's talking about real physical enemy, even if my physical enemy cut my head and chop my limbs and kill me, it still cannot burn me in the hellfire of hate. But my own hate, he says, my hate can bring me in the fire of hell just as soon as I give rise to anger. Therefore, one needs to snuff out we need to prevent ourselves being stung by hatred in our heart, and not become irritated by other people's action. While the sentient beings, like say it's your loved one, they mean very well. You should not fight with the bee. The bee is trying to produce honey. Bee is the one that will produce honey. So don't fight. Maybe you can smoke. You can put the smoke or something, but that will help you not to be stung by the bee. But you will still be able to procure the honey. So honey is the patience. The honey is patience you have to practice, and not allowing yourself stung is you not retaliating hate with hate, abuse with abuse. And so being able to use the analogy of the beekeeper, skillful beekeeper, bring the smoke and smoke, and then bee will not sting you, but you can still procure honey. So their anger or aggression does not hurt you even a iota of the hurt that you will do to yourself with subsequent ill will. Therefore, procure the honey by practicing patience when they try to sting you. They really do not sting you, but your hate sting you more. So there's the two layers, analogy of them being the bee that bites you, or analogy your hate that bites you more. Deluded people think it's other person's aggression bites you more, and your own ill will and resentment to him or her doesn't. So a Buddha nature practitioner knows the difference between the obscuration and obscured. So when you know the Buddha nature, the obscuration is usually thinking someone is aggressive to me, and it is obscuring you from seeing how your own subsequent hate is stinging you more in your heart than your eardrum complaints. Can you understand that? I like that description. So we need to think along these lines, and so that's the second analogy, 135, and because when the bee stings, when the bee stings, it doesn't hurt a lot, but then slowly it swells. After a couple of hours, it swells. Like that, you at the moment when you are retaliating with hate, you felt so good. But slowly then your heart is feeling stressed and not happy, what you said, what you did, and then you don't like it. Then you feel completely swollen, bruised. Then you got bruised and you wouldn't recover. It takes months and years, I don't know, it ever recovers. So be careful of being angry to anyone and anything. And if someone is angry at you, you just have to be compassionate to them. Oh, they don't know. They are going to more stung by their hate to me than they are trying to harm me. So I'm not going to be harmed so much unless I too become childish like him. Whereas, therefore, this is my responsibility not to act like them and irritate like that, but I should learn how to procure the honey from this interaction, this great gift, this great opportunity to practice honey. I should put the smoke on. I should put the little hat on. There's a lot of gadgets for the beekeepers. You put the hat on, and you put the smoke on. You bring the container for the honey. All sorts of things. You have a little binocular. I'm told you wouldn't believe in the how to produce honey. How many paraphernalia you can get these days? Yeah. So we have to get the honey of wisdom by when somebody attacks you. You're not fortunate. Everybody's been treating nicely, respectfully, kindly, generously. You will never grow. You're spoiled. That's the problem. It's complete. You should have a rough ride, a very rough ride, to the extent of thinking that you've been abused, you've been a victim. You should think like that, and then starting to look. Oh, I'm not a victim. I have an opportunity to transform this into great opportunity. His harm or their aggression or their hostility to me is causing him more harm than he can imagine. Now I must make sure that I don't copy this, but I should learn how to. I shouldn't act like the irritated bee, but I should be very skillful beekeeper who put the smoke on and put the hat on, and then slowly procure the honey without being stung by any bee, almost even talking nicely, kindly to the bee, So, therefore, bodhisattvas, when somebody harms them, they feel delighted. Bodhisattvas, somebody harms them, they feel delighted. Oh, this is an excellent opportunity. I can harvest here. It's a bountiful harvest. Somebody harms him. Bodhisattvas therefore deliberately expose themselves to such things and stir people up. See and test one's own nerves by what other people do. And of course, bodhisattvas have no ill will to stir other people, and so that person wouldn't do much a harmful thing. But he himself never thinks that I will get stung, I will become victim, I'll get more stung. I've been stung many times by myself more than anybody else. So why should I worry that I've been stung by others? It was all wrong information, fake news. I've been stung by my own hate, my own self-importance, much more than anybody harming me. See, this is the honey. This is the honey. This thought is the honey. This perception is the wisdom. And therefore, the bee will not get to your skin, let alone your eardrum, let alone your heart, because you're wearing that thing over your head. You have refuge. You have refuge. You have bodhicitta. You're fully armored. How can the bee sting you? That's why you have refuge. Come on, it's a refuge. It means something, refuge doesn't mean you say if you murmur some prayers at the beginning of some ceremonies. Refuge means that you are not vulnerable. You are comprehensive insurance. You have peace of mind from the danger of being a falling victim to other people's wrong action. Now that you have Dharma, now that you have, having found butter by churning the buckets of milk of Dharma, now you should never need to go looking for butter elsewhere, because they are providing all the butter or the milk, and you know how to churn them. So the bees are the cause of your producing the honey. If you don't want the bee, you hit on them, they will not only sting you and you won't get any honey. Even the little honey you had in the bucket all spill all over, then you don't have it. So neither honey, nothing, So we should try to procure the honey without losing the honey, without barking at the wrong tree. Wrong tree. So honeys, the bees are that which produced honey. So bees are not fighting to protect their honey from you. They themselves use so little. Did you know that? They use so little themselves, and they brought all the way from all the flowers in many people's garden. He did all the stealing, and you're reaping all the harvest. So the bee has brought the honey from elsewhere, and then he has to produce by moving his wings so many times. It's written in the research how many times he has to wave his wing to produce even one drop. So because of that, you need to have this understanding of the mechanics of honey production. Likewise, the practice of bodhicitta is honey. Practice of bodhicitta is honey, and you need to be kind with sentient beings. Without sentient beings, you can't produce honey. Without irritable sentient beings, irritating sentient beings, without difficult sentient beings, you could not produce any honey. So you need to be able to work with sentient beings, not only for your own procurement of honey, but they too have Buddha nature. So should you think. Now the fourth analogy is the kernel of rice and so on. So means rice or buckwheat or whatever it is obscured by the husk. So they are externally covered by the husk. Similarly, the eggshell of ignorance obscures the vision of the true meaning. So this is the third analogy. So this is talking about the ignorance. The ignorance is very, very subtle. Ignorance, eggshell of ignorance obscure the vision of the true meaning. We don't realize the true meaning of the sentient beings have all similar, identical Buddha nature. And temporarily, outwardly, they're all inedible like grain, covered by husk. But if you really look at the true meaning of them, and then you break the shell of ignorance, and then you will have the vision to see the true meaning of things as they are. Now, next one is, the repugnant filth is unpleasant. Desire, which is the cause of indulging in powerful sway of sensual pleasure, is similar to this. So this is the fourth one, giving the analogy of the filth. Person who's very attached, who are very attached to sensory pleasures, whether it's visual, whether it's auditory, whether it's tactile, whether it's olfactory, whether it's taste or whatever it is, touch, whatever it is. So one needs to learn to see the danger of oneself thinking that desirability is something very beautiful, that it soon will not remain there. So the fall of individuals are usually falling prey to their desire, of the sensory pleasure. So therefore, one needs to see that. That's the fourth analogy. And the hidden mind remain unmined by those who are ignorant of it. Similarly, the naturally abiding essence in sentient beings, natural abiding essence refers to the Buddha nature. Yeah? Buddha nature, obscured by the earth of latencies of ignorance. So this is the sentient beings. Not only themselves are obscured by not knowing that they do have Buddha nature, and even if somebody is difficult, they totally reject the person with him and his action without realizing they too have Buddha nature, the natural abiding Buddha nature. They also has the Buddha nature in their mind. So when you're able to think of this, your way of dealing with the temporal obscuration of others and yourself will dramatically change because you are able to see the unrevealed mind is under the ground. So right now the uncovering of the ground will take place, but therefore one needs to see everybody has good potentials, good qualities, and so on. The gradual germination and so on, that this is talking about the seed, yeah? The gradual germination and so on causes the husk of the grain to split open. So this is given analogy of how the plant grows, how the plant grows from first when you put the seed, and slowly when the seed has sown into the fertile ground, you pour water, it gets fertile and manure and water and sunlight and slowly it breaks its husk inside under the earth. It doesn't pop out with the husk. It will break the husk inside gradually, and it has to open. It has to open inside. Similarly, gaining insight on the reality, the nature of emptiness, through inside obscurations are abandoned. So therefore, whatever obscurations one has as a practitioner, so we're talking about the number 5, when number 6 rather, number 6. That is the peeling the peel of the inside meditation. On the path of accumulation, path of preparation, you have to first peel those gross obscurations before you are able to sight the actual insight. So they're just like the seed that has been planted into the ground will have to germinate. We have to allow this time to germinate, allow the time before the shoot comes out of the earth. So first it has to do all kind of transformation under the ground due to many causes and conditions. Likewise, we also have to allow some people and see that they will blossom, they will open, and we need to be very optimistic in them, not thinking they are doomed for failure and reject them outright. Or we do the same thing. We do not reject ourselves like that. We should also give ourselves some time. Give a break. Give yourself some time, and things will change. So when we gain the insight on the not just intellectual but meditative realization of the emptiness, then the obscuration will slowly drop away itself. Obscuration will be abandoned. Those who have overcome the essence of the transitory collection. So this refers to the transitory collection refers to the aggregates. Yeah. Right now there is very strong innate grasping that I am my body, I am my name, I am my feelings. You hurt my feelings. You didn't respect me. You did this to hurt me. Or people have all these things. They're all about themselves. And but those practitioners who have gone beyond that, and because they have, in conjunction with the noble path, means Now they have already treaded on the path of the Eightfold Path, particularly the path of seeing, and so then they have now destroyed the very essence, overcome the essence of the transcendent. So they have peeled off the I, the name, the aggregate, the body, the feeling, the skin, the layers, the flesh, and they could not see any inherently existing there. Because of not finding that is anything there, they have overcome the wrong view that there is something truly existing essence called me or mine, other than the transient collection of the aggregates. So with the help of in conjunction with Noble Path, so this is referring to the bodhisattva on the path of meditation, illustrate that things are abandoned by wisdom. Things meaning the obscurations on the path of meditation are similar to tattered rags. The rags are covering the statue, therefore you can't see. Likewise, when you remove the tattered rags, your Buddha image will manifest out of that. Likewise, the lack of meditation, the distraction, the lack of discipline, and dullness, these are the tattered rags. So don't think that your meditation will come without these tattered rags. The more you discover the tattered rags and deal with the rags and try to remove them one by one, slowly you'll be able to abandon all the obscuration on the path of meditation. Of course, this is referred to those who are already on the path of meditation. This is post path of seeing. So the obscurations that the practitioner who reach this level are much more subtler ones than the people who on the childish being we are referring to verse number 140. And 41 is the obscuration on the 7 lower bhumis. So in the text it says, obscuration the 7 bhumis resemble the affliction of the womb of the pregnant woman. So talking about the pregnant woman not knowing that her child will become a king. Likewise, the practitioner who are on the path on the 7 lower bhumis, they do not know at that stage that soon they will become the victor. They will give birth. They will give birth to that. They still are hampered by the various subtle obscuration on the 7 lower bhumis that resemble them like the womb of the pregnant woman. Freedom from the womb. Once the baby is delivered, when the baby is delivered, freedom from the womb means the womb and the mother and the baby is almost like simultaneously in one person. But there need to be some kind of parting between the two. So the womb of a mother is the kind of a attachment to the self, So I am there. But when the child delivered from the womb, then he is now completely ripened to become a full-fledged entity. So it's talking about the freedom from the womb is like the ripened result of non-conceptual transcendental wisdom. So being born from the pregnant mother's womb is like one who has now realized the non-conceptual transcendental wisdom. This is now the 7th bhumi. Seventh bhumi. Now you are moving to the 3 higher bhumis, 8th, 9th, and 10th bhumi. These analogies. Then the number 42 is talking about the impurities related to the 3 bhumis. These 3 bhumis are the 8th, 9th, and 10th bhumi, should be considered as similar to the traces of the clay mold. Even though you remove the clay mold, but still some of the traces of the clay still stuck on the statue. Still stuck on the statue. So maybe you haven't seen this because you haven't made a tsatsa. If you made a tsatsa or some statues from a mold, we were talking about. Sometimes they're so good that there's nothing stuck in the mold. No traces of the clay is on that. So So that's really when you reach in that 8th, 9th, 10th bhumi, there will be some traces only, but majority is the statue. And the clay, the mold is totally different from the statue. So right now we are lumping each other. He is what he said, he is what he did. We don't see any statue in it, statue in it. So we need to remove very skillfully the mold, statue out of the mold. But you don't beat the mold too much, because then you might break the real statue. So you have to be very skillful and timing when you actually need to remove. The earth people who do the lot of sculptures have to do a lot, the timing, the heating, and the texture of your clay. Some of the potters in this group, I'm sure I can see some potters in this group. They know what we're talking. Or at least someone who makes pot. And then they really know you've got to be really good at timing, so that the clay mold or the cask, when you remove, when you don't. Even when you have a cast on your leg, when you break your leg or arms, you got to make sure when to remove, when to not remove, isn't it? Like that. So they should be destroyed by the great being of the Vajra-like meditative concentration. So this is talking about the 8th, 9th, and 10th bhumi. The meditators, we have ocean-like meditation, mountain-like meditation. The highest is the Vajra-like meditation. Vajra-like means indestructible meditation, indestructible meditative concentration. So then the statue that is inside the mold will manifest like indestructible meditation cells. So what we're talking about, but with use of these 9 analogies, is that the gradual progression of the individuals on the path, from the very beginners to the high level, we should always liken to be the obscuration and obscured. We should not misunderstand the obscured from the obscuration. We should always see the obscurations are temporary, and the obscured should be claimed at all cost. Because of that, even if you are interacting with someone with difficulties, you do not let yourself being distracted by the differences, but always look at the main friendship that need to be guarded, and therefore do not lose yourself to the obscurations, but always work with the obscuration, so that you are able to reclaim the obscured from the obscurations. This means that one needs to be gentle, depending to what kind of gross or middle, very gross or subtle or very subtle obscurations. And of course, most of the childish beings' obscurations are gross obscuration, very gross obscuration, very gross obscuration. So if you have people with very gross obscuration, gross anger, gross hatred, gross jealousy, you are in the right camp. You must be in that state too. You will also find, I'm in the same as they are. Because if you yourself is a relatively advanced, like the maybe about 4th and 5th and things like that, you'll be able to stay like an arhat. Your need a minimum. You will not have many demands or cravings or wanting, because you're able to basically practice in complete solitude and with the very minimum gross afflictions, and therefore only trying to control your subtle latencies. And so like an arhat. Arhats have still some remnants, latencies of the afflictions, but the gross afflictions are all suppressed. They have even eliminated 116 gross afflictions get eliminated when you reach the first bhumi, path of seeing. And then there are altogether, slowly, there are number of afflictions that are abandoned, like 400 something get abandoned once you reach the path of meditation and so on. And so that's why each of these 9 similes, which similes of the obscurations and similes of the obscured, yeah. Of course, here for us, the simile of the obscured is the Buddha nature. Even there are nine similes of the obscured, what their meaning is the simile to the main simile. All the 9 simile refer to the one and only thing that is obscured. That's the Buddha nature. Only difference between the obscurations are because of the very gross to gross, very subtle to subtle obscurations, and when you are able to work with them with the skill of a person who do not misunderstand the wither with the kind of moldy lotus and then reject it, not understanding there is statue within it, or the swarm of bees and then don't sort of try to destroy it, and not realizing they are actually going to produce honey. So we need to be gentle with the grossly afflicted sentient beings' behaviors and not react to them as it is them who is harming me or stinging me, but our enmity to their attempt to sting us is going to sting us more in the heart. You're talking about the analogy of the anger is cause suffering to your heart. Lots of heart diseases, heart attack, and blood clotting are caused by hatred. This is not caused by someone else. Someone else can instigate it, but someone else can instigate it, someone else can manipulate you, someone else can test you. But if you do not give in to the hate, they cannot, but they can make you to produce honey. They can make you to become patient. Perfection of patience. Perfection of patience is not truly existing because you have teachings on how to practice patience. But you need to be met with someone that stings you, that irritates you, that actually is angry, makes you angry. Not that they are doing deliberately to you, but you have to be you have to be in a good space that when you have all the challenges in your life, that you do not see it's them challenging you, but you having the aptness to know what to do with them. So Buddha nature is that you have to nurture the Buddha nature. You nurture the Buddha nature when its opposite of being neglected occurs. Being abandoned occurs. The temptation to forget the Buddha nature in us and others are there. That time we need to nurture our Buddha nature. Then we will also be nurturing other sentient beings' Buddha nature, because we are helping them to exhaust their karma. What they do to us will be cancelled, having negative consequences. If we can have the power to cancel and neutralize the negativities of other person, then that's real honey. Not just for you, but honey for the bee as well. Come on. Come on, keep some honey. You have to create a honeycomb. You have to create a beehive. You have to create something for the bee. Otherwise, you only want the bee to produce honey, but you don't want to do anything for the bee. That's not right. So you have to make sure you need millions of bees, not just half a dozen, Yeah, don't be so miserable. Make enough a beehive. Make enough a place that can attract the bees to come fly all the way from across the valley to bring honey to you. So don't do only thing for you. Let the bees themselves enjoy enough honey. Then choose your timing when you want to procure. When you want to procure the honey, don't try to harm any bee at all, but try to do one way or another so that you might sort of make the bees go away, and so that if they go away, they wouldn't sting you. Then if they go away without stinging you, you can get some honey. See, bee had already some honey. He produced already. He's going away to bring more honey. So if you kill them, you will have nothing left. So therefore, try to destroy someone. Try to destroy someone who's doing aggressive to you is not a bodhisattva. So therefore, we need to understand how to nurture not only our Buddha nature, but also nurture the other sentient beings. Knowing that if they are angry at me this way, they are already angry in their heart. Poor thing. So they're already self-stung. They've already been self-stung. And now do I need to sting them back? No, they have already been stung one too many times. I do not sting them back. I make sure that I do not allow myself to be vulnerable to be stung by myself on my own heart by their small buzzing sound that comes my ear. I rather should put on the little hat. You know, the beekeeper's got a funny hat. It's not like the sun hat, not like a golf player's hat. It's a different hat, So you got to make sure you're buying the right kind of hat, So you have to understand the language of these Asanga's teachings and analogies and the meanings, and then you might even find yourself a hat, and you don't get stung, and instead you say, "Oh, I get more stung by my own hate to someone's anger, aggression." Even if he doesn't do this to me, even he avoids me, even he doesn't talk to me, even he sort of whatever it appears. Some people do that, don't they? They don't want nothing to do with you. They're so angry at you. So at that time you've got to be careful, You don't say, "Why he's angry at me? I didn't do anything," and then you get angry. so completely wasteful. See, that's the childish one. That's what it's called, childish one. Childish one do this. Childish one do this. The arhats and the bodhisattvas on the path of preparation, they don't do that. They will say, it is them. They're doing this does not do me any harm whatsoever. But my hatred towards them will hurt my heart pressure, hurt my wellness of everything. It will completely destroy my blood pressure. It will increase my blood pressure. And so therefore this is no greater self-harm than this. This is then you are looking at this other person with kindness, with the nurture. If you can neutralize their anger and its effect to you, and you have now made honey. That's the honey we're talking about. You are nurturing your Buddha nature, and by so you have neutralized the negative actions of other by your good response. You have de-escalated. You have cancelled it. So you nurture somebody, you nurture your Buddha nature, it inspires them, and they will not sting themselves next time. And then we are listening to this teaching so that we don't self-sting. This is not teaching about don't harm other people, This teaching about don't harm this other person. You don't know you're harming yourself. So most of the harm is self-harm. You can never succeed harming others. And don't get it wrong, So harming is completely useless effort to harm others, and it only harms you more than millions of other sentient beings trying to harm you together. Believe this. This is teaching. The honey and the bee. Get stung or take the honey. Which you want to choose. Which you want to choose. When you really hear these teachings, when you really have understood and comprehended, then you become cautious. Next time, your own venom or hate, your own bitterness, your own vindictiveness, your own ill will make you sick, make you feel frustrated. Other person's action aren't the thing. Don't misunderstand. Don't misunderstand. Other person is just the bee that is trying to make you produce the honey, make you get the honey. So, therefore, the obscuration and obscured. We need to understand this. And then this teaching really will teach us, means show us how to internally manage, understand emotions, and reactions under the sway of the emotions, and reaction and ability to see the emotions, and the emotions themselves are only temporary, and just breathe out and breathe in some positive thoughts, and then you can quickly water down the afflictions. You breathe out, say a few mantras, inhale, and where's the emotions? Emotion says, I never existed in the first place. I'm just tricking you. See whether you're still childish or not. So, and then of course, there's no pile of emotion, lying beside you, because you can feel very present, very sharp, very mindful. The mindfulness in Buddhism is try to distinguish the obscuration and obscured. It's not about mindful of other people. In the early 60s or 70s or maybe in 80s, they used to run workshops, psychologists, how to deal with bad people. It's so sad, so sad. These people have PhDs and they're teaching people how to deal with bad people. Nowadays, I think that the psychologists has slightly changed their language. They don't talk about how to deal with the bad people. They talk about how to deal with destructive emotions. That's quite a big progress, don't you think? It took 30 years. Took 30 years to change the language, and they're even talking about positive psychology. So now they're not talking about how to deal with bad people or how to control people, how to now they're talking how to. They're saying, oh, there's neural plasticity. Now they're not looking outside there. They say, oh, if you think kindly, there's change in the head. There will be more change in your heart, I tell you. When you're looking for the change in the brain, I think you are still very dull. You should see the change in your heart. Then you are really walking up. Then you're really nurturing the Buddha nature. If you're looking only in the brain, but not in the heart, few decades later, maybe I can just assume the study of psychology can improve so much so they will start talking about cardiovascular, what do you call plasticity? Of course, they will start talking about how much the heart changes. They talk about heartbeat already, so they will now focus their study on the heart rather than the brain all the time, because heart is the one that get hurt, more emotionally. Heart is the center of emotions. They never say in Buddhist teachings, like in all these readings we have done, 142 verses, it doesn't say your hatred will kill your brain. It doesn't say it will hurt your brain, or on the right or left or front or back, and then no mention. It says the hatred will bring suffering in your heart. That's in verse number 135. If any biological location is mentioned, it's in the heart. It doesn't say it will bring pain in your big right toes. They're all related. All the 272,000 arteries and the channels, they're all connected. They will just intravenously travel everywhere. And the very center is the heart chakra. That's what the heart is. The core is in the heart. When the person dies, his heartbeat stops. Simple as that. There are lots of people's brain is dead, but they're still there. They're still living. So that shows brain is not the kind of. I'm not saying brain is not important, but the real center of life is in the heart. We have a life-holding air is in the heart. All pervasive air is in the crown, So the 5 important airs are all different, located in different 5 chakras. Anyway, so we will conclude here. Thank you, everybody. And of course, we have a little bit of class recess for a few weeks between term, but I'm sure you can keep nurturing the Buddha nature with or without formal classes. We will resume next term in May, and so we'll no doubt see you on some of our regular weekly practice on Wednesday night and on Sunday mornings. Please, with this, we'll conclude. Thank you very much, everyone. We do the dedication of merits. Vajra Choedak Mahayana manjushrinyavode Asama Vajra Lama follow Ode Zambo Ashade Dega Ode Mede Salam Bodhi Jida Teba Veda Nayadanza Vedas Bimbo Vedingri Freely Vedadi Generation. Yes, thank you. We will.
Thanks, Rinpoche.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you.